The Northern Regional Security Council, RECSEC, is locked up in a crunch meeting to find lasting solutions to renewed ethnic violence in the northern regional town of Bunkpurugu. All activities in that town have come to a standstill. 3 people, including a 70-year-old man, have died following clashes between the Jafuk and Jamung factions in that town. This is the 4th time in a month that the 2 groups have turned confrontational on each other. So what triggered this latest clash? How is it that individuals are irresponsibly in possession of guns? Whose job is it to check them? And when at all will all these ethnic clashes in the north end? This is today's big story. My name is Aisha O'Brien. The Bunkpurugu township was placed under a 15-hour curfew by the Interior Minister in similar violence in April this year. In the latest incident, scores of houses have been burned down with sporadic shootings ongoing in parts of the township. A 25-year-old student who has also been shot is holding on to his dear life at the Baptist Hospital in Lerugu. We are told the faction of the deceased began to suspect foul play following circumstances surrounding the deaths. Their suspicions were further aroused after the chief in the community forbade the family from burying the relative in the community. Police and military personnel in nearby towns have been deployed to stop sporadic shootings and burning of houses there as they await the arrival of reinforcement. Now, currently, the Northern Regional Security Council, RECSEC, is in a closed-door meeting to find a resolution to the matter. We'll be speaking to our man, Hashmin Mohammed, who has been monitoring the RECSEC meeting to give us an update on the outcome. But right now, we have Dr. Kwesi Enin. He is a security analyst and he's joining in the conversation. Good evening, Doc, and many thanks for joining us on today's big story.
That's good evening. It's a great pleasure.
The paramount chief blames impunity for the resurgence of these violent acts because troublemakers are almost always left off the hook. Is this a view you share?
Well, this is a view I share. The culture of impunity that characterizes, politics, chieftaincy, the theft of people's registered land, the disrespect for traffic regulations, it's all abiding. It looks as if the culture of impunity is what defines our lives and what our lives revolve around. So yeah, it doesn't come to me as a surprise at all.
Critical question is how individuals are allowed to possess guns. Who checks them and who is to ensure small arms don't mind its way into illicit hands?
Oh, well, the small arms legislation in this country is not up to date enough to respond to the changing dynamics, first, of small arms availability, people's ease of access to these guns, and even more disturbingly, people's willingness to use those guns, and when they use them to perpetrate crimes, also sometimes to get off the hook. The recent study that we did at the KIPTC shows that when compared to the 2005 study, gun availability in Ghana is now extremely high, posing disturbing, questions about the levels of local manufacture, but even more disturbingly about the appropriateness of the magazines where these guns are held and the licensing regime. We are not too sure about how many companies have licenses to import some of these guns into Ghana. So there's a set of issue areas that we need to discuss and to try to resolve with respect to the conflict that we have, but more worrying the availability of these guns also.
We're talking about controlling small arms. Is that a panacea to ending ethnic violence, Doc?
No, far from it.
But would it help in a way?
It will help. But you see, the securitization and politicization of ethnicity in this country is also contributing to the worsening of the situation. Now, if you are well connected, either politically or ethnically, you can basically commit a process in this country and then you can get off the hook. So it's also clear that the use of violence for particular ends, be it economic, politics, access to natural resources or state resources, it's almost becoming an accepted part of our lives. Okay, so what is happening up north right now is not different from different types of violence that we are seeing crisscrossing this country. We seem to accept that violence is an almost legitimate vehicle to achieving particular ends, be it chieftaincy, land, political access to political power, intimidating your opponents or friends, and that if you cannot get it by peaceful means, you can also get it by violence.
Dr. Eni, now have you hold briefly and get onto the ground where our correspondent Hashmin Mohammed is there. Give us an update of the RECSEG meeting. Good evening, Hashmin. What can you tell us about this RECSEG meeting?
Well, details about what was discussed and what steps RECSEG is putting in place to be able to bring the situation under control. RECSEG says that they wouldn't discuss that with the public. So it is unclear what steps RECSEG will be taking in terms of dealing with the issue. But all we know is that RECSEG met this afternoon. It was a very lengthy meeting, and they will be acting. But as to what measures that they wouldn't put to the public.
Were you able to speak with the Northern Regional Minister or the Northern Regional Commander to tell you
Well, none of them wouldn't speak to the media about what steps they are putting in place. And I tried my best getting them, but they wouldn't just respond to us with regards to the Bunkpurugu issue.
We'll be going to the Northern Regional Minister, who is chairman of RECSEG, to get more. But Hashmin, can you tell us, how is the situation on the ground now?
Well, calm has been restored to the place. Earlier this afternoon, a reinforcement team was called from Tambale to augment the earlier enforcement that came from the country to add up to the security details. And within the last 4 hours or so, we've not heard of any incident at that particular place.
And as night approach, how does the town look like?
Well, Bunkpurugu, you can never predict Bunkpurugu, especially when there is a reprisal attack. But what we are gathering from the security is that they have put in more men to be able to contain any incident that will erupt from the violence again.
And have you been able to pick up any signal from the various factions?
For now, the place is very, very quiet this morning because of the sporadic shooting and then the reprisal attack. The whole of the district capital, nothing was functioning. School children could not go to school. Likewise, other government agencies and departments could not go to work.
Well, Hashmin,
so the place has been very, very quiet for now.
We'll get back to you for some updates on our subsequent bulletins, but let's get back to Dr. Enin, who is on the other line. Dr. Enin, are we safe as a country, and do we have what it takes to crack down on ethnic violence with undertones of gun racketeering?
Well, I think we have what it takes. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Enin, you're on air.
Yes, I think we have what it takes to respond to these challenges. You see, but there's something else that I want to introduce into the equation. We normally tend to use curfews as stopgap measures. I think government must also begin to use some rational choice analysis. How much does it cost us to keep the peace in Bunkpurugu, for example? And had there been peace, what could we have used the money that we are now using to keep the peace and to rebuild houses? What could we have used that money for? And let us give people the choice. Do you want the violence that leads to death, destruction of property, and the diversion of developmental funds into peacekeeping, or you want to keep the peace so that we can build schools, clinics, clean potable water, and ensure that you have access to food? You see, because we've used more repressive responses or law enforcement approaches that do not seem to be as effective as we would otherwise wish. So probably we need to look at some alternative means.
This ethnic violence in the North seem unending. I mean, with the little thing, little trigger, we find ourselves back to square one. What would you recommend, especially now, to save people's life?
Well, I think we need to understand and disaggregate who are those who have an incentive in ensuring that the fighting goes on and never ends. But you see, it is not just about the North and Bunkpurugu. It's about the whole of this country. I mean, people have been murdered in our political party. You know, we don't seem to know what has happened. People are using the occult in intimidating political opponents. So it's not just a matter about the North. It's what I said earlier on, that there's a culture of impunity that has seeped into our body politics, and it is seeping into our subconsciousness, that violence and the manipulation of arms to intimidate and to get particular end results are acceptable. My question is that we've got to identify those who incentivize others to use violence and provide them the tools and the means to use that violence and also to protect them, and strip those people of that aura of power and invincibility and deal with them.
How do we get to these people, Dr. Enin?
Oh, I think they are known. I think the intelligence people know them. If we give them political protection, okay, that they will not be sacked, that they will not be transferred, they will give us the analysis and pinpoint those who benefit and incentivize others to commit these atrocities. The intelligence guys are smart. We've just got to give them the free hand to work, and then for us to have the political backing to be able to implement their recommendations. That will bring this one.
Well, many thanks to you, Dr. Kwesi Enihis, a security analyst. We're extremely grateful for your time on today's big story. Meanwhile, the paramount chief of Bunkpurugu, Alhaji Abubua Nasemong, has blamed the perennial violence in the town on impunity because perpetrators are left off the hook. He expressed worry that troublemakers are almost always left off the hook, despite making life a nightmare for innocent citizens. He spoke to correspondent Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin, who visited the community before the latest outbreak of violence. Let's listen to him.
The problem of Bunkpurugu, how we feel it. In fact, it disturbed me and my people a lot, because nobody wants problem. And this thing, the way it come, no, it disturbs us a lot. So we want solution for this problem. If you see the one who bring the confusion, you catch him, you leave him, and you say you put curfew on people. What do you think? Okay, you release them. They will come and continue their job again. They brought confusion, you put curfew on people, and you arrest them. Fine, everything is cool. You went and released them again. What did you talk to them? When this confusion started, 4 people lost their lives. Why? And some are some wounded. So what is the use of this curfew? Ask the security men in ground here, what is the use of it? They go around nothing. They will not see anything. You see? It affects our economics of this area. So we are pleading for this curfew. It's not helping us. So let's find solution for the problem the problem that brought the confusion, or the problem that brought the curfew. To tackle that one, it will solve it up.
Alhaji Nasser Mong believes people of Bunkpurugu are peace-loving and appeals for restraint in resolving issues of disagreement. We're still trying to get the regional minister, who is also chairman of the RECSEG, and also another regional police commander, to respond to some questions. We'll be trying to get a security analyst, who I'm told he's already on the phone, Wing Commander Patrick Sobojo, retired. Good evening, Wing Commander. Many thanks for your time on today's big story. Wing Commander, you're welcome on today's big story.
Good evening, Aisha.
Wing Commander, there's been one particular worry about this whole incident in the north, the fact that very irresponsible people are wielding guns, and with the little trigger, they pull them out. How do we deal with this matter?
Well, there are ways and means of trying to retrieve guns and things from people who are online things or who should not have them.
Wing Commander, if you can turn down the volume of your television, it will help in the conversation. We're having feedback.
Is it okay now?
I think so. Let's continue.
Yeah. So there are ways and means of getting the unnecessary unlicensed weaponry in the system.
Right.
First of all, we have coding and search, but this will depend on the security, where you actually go into a society at all times with the military, and maybe a section is cording off, preventing people going out and coming in, then you do a search. At another time, you do it another time frame, so that people don't get to know that every 6 p.m. you are coming to search them. You know, if this is done, it can help, because at the moment there's so much weaponry in the system dating back from maybe when guns and weaponry came to this country on our custom. And over the period, they were filtered into various areas of confrontation,
right,
especially in the north.
Right.
So the government should come out. What the military is there, they have an exercise to perform coding and search, and to go into it and try and retrieve some of these weapons.
Right.
The other type we have are the locally manufactured ones, which has been done from time immemorial. But the impunity with which people are using them to kill innocent people, something should be done.
Okay.
And I will also lead on to the question of collection of intelligence information, because some of these things been out for many years, and if we have good system of collecting information, passing them through either the DISEC, the RECSEC, and the national level, a lot of this confrontation will be left in the back. Sending security agents after the event that happened doesn't solve the problem.
Wing Commander,
yes.
Do you think because a lot of people have small arms in their rooms, that's why we're having a lot of these clashes?
Certainly, yes. Certainly, yes. There's so many type of different weapons we have with people in their houses. And this is so because we are not too sure when there might be a situation for them to protect either their family or go to fight in support of maybe a faction.
And do you?
Some of them are hidden in the farm. They
right.
dig the farm, cover them up, and bury them.
Right.
You know. So first of all, I believe this is happening too much in the north.
And
the political leaders on the north, the chiefs, eminent chiefs there, should team up together and get to educate our brothers in the north. It doesn't take much to take a rifle and shoot your brother in the belly. You know, it's getting out of hand. So something should be done.
So is it about education only? You're talking about teaming up and educating them. Is it only about education?
Yes. I mean, taking taking a rifle or cutlass and hacking your brother, it doesn't go too well. But if you have brought the notice that it is wrong and it's against the citizen and the country, every human being in Ghana belongs to the government. So if you take a rifle or cutlass and cut him, you are committing an offense. So I'm looking at the frequency we have in the north. The eminent people out there, they should also start talking to the youth. One day there's no work for them to do, the devil finds work for the other people. And the main thing, they would like to expand it to involve innocent people. So what the government can do is this. The eminent people in the north, politicians, chiefs, can also get together and they educate their kinsfolk about this type of violence.
Let's look at arms smuggling. I mean, we know a lot of them do not go through the right route. We know about some who enter through Burkina and land in the northern region. How dangerous is this to us as a country?
You see, this stems up from the time when a revolution took place. And a lot of arms were brought in by foreign countries to back up the regime. Normality, if you bring on arms in the armed forces, there's a department who handles it before they are distributed to soldiers. But I got to a point that soldiers, police were hacking the caskets and distributing these arms at the airport as on a plane came. Some of these weaponry found their way to Liberia and to Sierra Leone. And now that we have peace in Liberia and Sierra Leone, some of this weaponry is coming back. Some are flowing to Burkina Faso, but we have the larger one in the country. So we have the duty to try and retrieve these weapons which came on our custom by the military and who flow into Ivory Coast, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, and they are coming back through Ghana to other hotspots like Burkina and elsewhere, Mali. So there must be a coordinated effort to search, retrieve, and then destroy.
There are those who feel, Wing Commander, that ethnic violence can generate into terrorism, like infiltration of the Boko Haram, the Al-Shabaabs. Do you share those thoughts?
Yes, I certainly do. If I remember when this going there, which was a problem, because most of them, they are going to a battlefield. And there is very bad.